G'day, g'day. Welcome back. Part 2 of the Talking About My Comic Collection retrospective. This video we're focusing on the DC side of things. So, get excited, get excited. We're going to get a little saucy, we're going to get a little spicy. You may notice my DC collection nowhere near as big as the Marvel collection. I like to think I enjoy both of them equally, but I'm pretty sure I am slightly more of a Marvel guy. In terms of books, anyway. I'm really trying my best to get more into DC lately. So, with that being said, Toz, mate, you know what to do. Alright, here we are, second angle again. And yeah, you can immediately tell, but it's not quite as big as the Marvel stuff. So, you know, this probably won't be as long, but still, we're gonna just hop right in. We're gonna start off small with my compact comics. Now, the DC compact line has been pretty great for new collectors or collectors who want certain books for relatively cheap. These are pretty good. These are like, I think, $18 each down under here, so that's pretty cool. I only have 4 of them, but for the most part I like them. We're going to start off with the worst, unfortunately, and that is Wonder Woman Blood and Guts. This is the first Wonder Woman book, like solo book, that I actually have owned. I've read other Wonder Woman titles before, much better Wonder Woman titles, I should say. This collects the first, I believe it's the first 2 volumes of the Brian Azzarello stuff, and yeah, unfortunately, this is painfully mid. It starts off very promising. You have an interesting setup of Apollo and a bunch of gods targeting this mortal woman because she's set to give birth to Zeus and Wonder Woman has to protect her. It's a very strong start. Unfortunately, it really kind of starts to let me down once we get into the nitty-gritty of the lore of the Amazons. They make some choices with the mythology here around Diana's birth and some of the things that they do with the Amazons. It's not great. I don't want to necessarily get into that too much, but let's just say it's low-key kind of uncomfortable. But, you know, the art is fun. You know, it's fun to look at, and there is some decent adventure to be had here. You know, you get a great supporting cast. Wonder Woman goes to the underworld at some point and almost marries Hades. Like, it's fine. It's a fine book, but, it's not a great Wonder Woman story. I would say this is a crisp, maybe a 6 out of 10. I don't know. It's generally unremarkable, and I'm kind of disappointed that this is the first solo Wonder Woman book that I own. But, yeah, moving on now. Next, we have All-Star Superman, written by Grant Morrison, with absolutely wonderful art by Frank Quitely. This is a quintessential Superman story for a reason. I had seen the animated movie a bunch when I was a kid, but actually getting to sit and read this thing is just, it's a whole new experience. I mean, I want to start with you know, Frank Quitely's artwork. It's a bit of a specific taste. I know there are people who don't love it. I personally quite enjoy it. I love the way he depicts, like, human bodies and aliens. The action is very readable. Like, look at the fucking super monkey. Look at that shit. It's pretty good. But Morrison proves that they have a really great grasp on sort of classic Silver Age, Golden Age Superman stuff. Like, there's a lot of funny things in this book. You know, Super Monkey, and, you know, we get a whole pretty great section on Bizarro World. But then the book can also, you know, it can get emotional, it can get introspective. You know, there's a great sequence where Clark returns to Smallville. Hang on. Yeah, there's a great sequence where Clark returns to Smallville, and there's some time travel stuff as well. It's played completely straight as well. Like, there's not really self-deprecation here, which I like. I always love it when a story can get big and silly, but in a severe way. I always appreciate that. The relationship between Clark and Lois here is put on full display. You know, he's dying, and he's trying his best to kind of wrap things up, and I really do enjoy that. There's a lot of great moments throughout. Obviously, there's the iconic, you know, the bit where he's comforting the woman about to jump off the building. You know, you're not alone, Reagan. Like, that's a great moment. That's a moment that people talk about for a reason, and it hits you really hard. Like, having seen that panel before on Twitter, actually reading it, beautiful experience. I love this book so much. I generally enjoy Grant Morrison's work. They're not always perfect. I don't love their Fantastic Four that they did, but the less I say about that, the better. All-Star Superman is just an all-star book. Read it if you can. It's great stuff. Speaking of books you should read, Far Sector. We're really barreling through these. Yeah, Far Sector is a really great solo kind of isolated Green Lantern story. I think you could honestly read this as someone who is unfamiliar with Green Lantern, and you would get it. I love the premise here of, solving a murder mystery on a planet where emotions are inhibited and there's like not been a murder in centuries. I think that's really interesting. The way that these different societies converge and interact with each other is fascinating. You get different alien species and seeing how everyone lives, and our protagonist Jo, she has her work cut out for her. I tell her that much. Even ignoring all the diplomacy and the subtle political tactics and everything going on, the betrayals and whatnot. She's on a planet where emotions are not, it doesn't work the same way. She is literally an outsider in every sense, but I think she's just a really solid protagonist. I'd love to see more of her. I think she's the protagonist of Absolute Green Lantern, which I haven't read, but I really like her here. She is capable and she's confident, but at the same time there are moments where it kind of slips a little, and we get some pretty valuable insight. We get a backstory as well, told to us throughout. I find that really compelling. Just the artwork too. It's all very breezy and breathtaking to me. Like, they have an internet on this planet, and Jo just goes into their internet for a bit, and that's kind of fun. But it's just a really compelling mystery at the center of everything, and I think that the story is just phenomenal. It's a phenomenal book. Go read it. That's really all I have to say on it. Yeah, just a terrific book that I'd heard good things about it, but having actually, sat down and got the compact, it is remarkable. It is remarkable. I should note that all of the compact books that I have are not negatively affected by the format. Like, I know some of the compacts, like the Arkham Asylum one or the Kingdom Come one, are probably far worse than just getting a regular trade because they are smaller and the paper's a bit, cheaper in quality, but I think they all really work. And I think this next book here, DC's New Frontier, I think it works the best because the art is so colorful and poppy. The way the panels are drawn and illustrated, it just lends itself really well. Darwin Cook and Dave Stewart, they were absolutely cooking with this. It is remarkable stuff. It's a great sort of alternate retelling of the early kind of DC universe. You get, Superman and all the classic characters involved, and it's set in this very retro world. The aesthetic of this book is beautiful. It is really something else. Martian Manhunter gets a pretty great amount of play here. I wouldn't necessarily say there's a protagonist. We jump around quite a bit, and there's a lot going on here, but the way everything kind of comes together in the end, Hal Jordan becomes Green Lantern, you get kind of a Justice League going on at the end here, but for the most part, there's a lot of beautiful moments throughout the book. There's a lot of beauty in this, I don't love the Superman Wonder Woman stuff, but that's fair enough. But yeah, just Martian Manhunter in this in particular is a highlight. I love the scene where he's just sitting in his apartment trying to, shapeshift into different things. Yeah, here. He's just turning into different things he sees on TV, like learning about culture. I think that's a great way to illustrate it. Love me a bit of Martian Manhunter. Great stuff all around. The animated movie is kind of a letdown. I had seen the movie before this, but it really doesn't do this story justice. It's a grand epic set in the DC universe, and I love it. I adore this book. It's great. Really, most of the compacts, except for the Wonder Woman one, I think are great. Definitely gonna try and expand that collection sometime. So, yeah, good stuff. Alright, now we're moving on to the traditional trades. We have Doom Patrol Brick by Brick, written by Gerard Way. Yeah, that Gerard Way. My Chemical Romance. I got this shortly after binging the Doom Patrol TV series, and I was not disappointed by this book at all. It is as bizarre and at times incomprehensible as you would expect. The character writing here is so charming. It's a very charming book. I'm keen to get more into Doom Patrol throughout, so, forgive me if I don't have a ton to say on this, but just based on this alone, it's very compelling. We have a real sort of out-of-water protagonist who has a lot more going on than you would expect, and of course the Doom Patrol themselves, you get some crazy stuff going on here. You get, Flex Mentallo, and you get, I think there's a bit of Danny the Street involved. There's a lot of bizarre things, but it all tracks and it all makes sense. It is Doom Patrol, after all. They are a very bizarre group. But the sentimentality behind everything is generally effective. It's a good book. It's great stuff. Sorry, I love this page. It's so well illustrated too. I love stylization. I love a particular style. When you can look at it, you could tell, the artist was firing on all cylinders here, and it's just a terrific book. I have another Gerard Way book here somewhere. I don't know where, but I have Umbrella Academy Volume 1, and I think Gerard Way's writing style is really just eclectic and beautiful. and I love it quite a lot. Doom Patrol, great stuff, good work. Blackest Night Saga. This is my most recent pickup. This is my most recent read. This covers the Blackest Night storyline. So a bunch of dead DC heroes and villains are resurrected by the Black Hand, and it's up to the Flash and Green Lantern to kind of save the day. It's a pretty great story. Surprisingly more of an emphasis on the supporting cast than Green Lantern themselves. Like, most of the Green Lanterns are kind of busy doing other shit throughout the book. It's mostly Hal and Barry, and the Atom and Mirror get a lot of play here, which is great. There's a lot of beautiful sort of macabre imagery throughout. I think this is a pretty solid book. The story, admittedly, is not the most compelling in the world. You can kind of track where everything's going. I had it, like, kind of figured out early on, but it's still just a lot of kind of ghoulish fun to see all these characters come back as zombies. And I think the Black Hand here is just honestly, a really terrifying villain. Like, early on, the book opens with a story covering the Black Hand's origin, and it's so macabre and so freakish that I really just admire them for going to this particular level. He's such an uncomfortable villain. I would love to see Black Hand in live action someday. I don't know how they would get away with it, but he's a really, just an awfully unsettling villain for this kind of story. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a ton to say on this. The artwork is pretty solid, albeit not super memorable. It's that kind of sort of pseudo-realistic style here. I do love the way the Black Lanterns look, the creepy eyes, and I like that they talk. I like that they're not just mindless zombies. They talk, and they kind of taunt their victims. But it's a lot of fun, and at the end you get, a bunch of characters get a bit different lantern rings. Lex Luthor getting the yellow, the orange ring, sorry. It's just really funny. Just, he's not helpful at all. I find that really amusing. But, yeah. Jeff Johns, he's a very hit-or-miss writer. Here, I think he's hitting. I think his Green Lantern stuff generally hits. No complaints. Solid. Batman Flash the Button. This is that weird sort of prelude to Doomsday Clock storyline. It's fine. I don't have a ton of good to say about it. I don't have a ton of bad to say about it. Just this image alone, Batman looking at the fucking comedian's button, is crazy to me. But, you get some fun little moments between Bruce and Barry, and Thorn shows up and he fucking wails on Batman for a bit. Really, Thorn is the highlight here. There's not a ton going on that I love here. I don't love Doomsday Clock. Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. It's an okay book, I guess. Get it if you want it, but we're gonna move on. Batman Year One. I mean, this is an essential read for any Batman fan. It's some of Frank Miller's best work. I wouldn't say it's my favorite of his. If you watched the Marvel video, you'll know. But what he is doing here is just immaculate stuff. I love how much this is a Gordon story as well. To me, I think Miller paints a really good picture of how just fucking shit it would be to live in Gotham at any given point. Like, it's so miserable and shitty, and the people are shitty, the police are shitty, everyone's shitty. Gordon is like one of the few decent people in the city, and even he's not great. I think the book's take on Gordon is fascinating to me because he is a complicated guy. He's a good bloke at his core, but he does make a lot of mistakes along the way. Obviously, cheating on his pregnant wife is not a good thing. It's not a good thing to do. Gordon, maybe don't do that. But he, and it's interesting. The book makes you really kind of sit with that. And it's uncomfortable, but I think it's utilized pretty effectively as well. Also, the artwork here by David Mazzucchelli, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, it's just really, it's memorable for a reason. His Batman design is just, I'm trying to find a good image of it here, hold on. His Batman design, it's just fucking, this is what I think of when I think of, like, Batman from the comics, visually speaking. Just this pure, unbridled aura from him. Like, he feels otherworldly, and I find that really fascinating. Bruce Wayne is also just kind of nutty in this book. Like, you see him from Gordon's perspective. He is kind of nutty. He's kind of nutty. But at the same time, you can tell he's trying his best. And there are moments he makes mistakes. The first time he goes out, he's not even Batman yet. He gets fucked up a bit, which is kind of funny. It's charming. It's charming. There are a million other early days Batman takes, and I have another one that I will show in a minute. But this is where it started, and for me, this is the best. I mean, just look at the coloring on this. Look at the tonnage of it. It's beautiful. It is a beautiful book. And just the way, you know, Gordon and Batman both come to rise up throughout this book is great. Seeing Gordon take on the system, and, you know, also Arnold Flash, pretty solid villain, I think. He's just a despicable dog of a bloke. And seeing Gordon take him down, satisfying. Very satisfying. It's a terrific book. It's a quintessential Batman read for a reason. Everybody hypes it up for good reason. This is one of those comics that you have to read at least once. And I have, so, you know, good. To contrast with that really great Year One book, we have Batman Earth One by Jeff Johns. This is set in an alternate universe, the Earth One universe, which we will see again in this video. And it's kind of a young, early days Batman, and some things are switched around. Like, this is Harvey Bullock. Harvey Bullock is like a clean, sort of a TV cop, but then over time he becomes sort of grizzled by Gotham, and you have alternate takes on the Penguin. Penguin's like the mayor and all that shit, and he fucking eats a bird at one point. I forgot about that, actually. It's fine. It's an okay book. I would say only really get this if you haven't read Year One or don't like Year One. Some of the things it attempts are interesting. I like this version of Alfred a lot, like a former soldier. He's a lot rougher around the edges. He's not quite a butler so much as he's a mentor figure here, former soldier. You know, Bruce is kind of hot-headed and full of himself a little. You know, the first couple times he puts on the Batsuit, he fucks it up, like he gets shot or he falls off a roof. He's very clumsy. It is endearing to see him fail. But that's really kind of the strength of this book. There's a serial killer plot line as well, which is just whatever. Like, I like the design of this fucking thing, but I don't remember anything else about it, really. It feels almost like a pilot for a Batman TV show, if that makes any sense. Like, it just, I don't know, it flows well enough, but it's not particularly memorable. Outside of a few brief elements, unremarkable stuff. And I've heard that the rest of Earth 1 Batman is worse, so it's going to be a skip from me. But the artwork by, I think it's Gary Frank, yeah, it's fine. I don't know. I like the clarity of it. Like, yeah, Batman falls off a fucking roof. And yeah, that shit looks like it hurts. I like the design of the Batsuit, though. I like, it looks very simple. It looks as if there is room to grow. But yeah, I don't know. Just maybe don't get this. It's not really essential. I only got it because it was like $4. Yeah. Batman vs. Superman, The Greatest Battles, is just kind of a collection of issues where Batman and Superman fight each other, I guess. So you get a little, you know, you get that fight scene from Hush, and you get New 52 Batman fighting the Justice League, and you get some Dark Knight Returns. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a compilation. I remember I was 12, I think, when I got this. I only really got it because it was cheap, and I didn't realize it was just, yeah, an anthology, pretty much. Yeah, I don't know. These fights are cool, but, like, without the additional context of their respective storylines, it doesn't really have the same impact. I don't know. What more can you say? Long Halloween. I'm ashamed to admit I only read this for the first time this year. Big fucking book. I adore, you know, Jeff Loeb is a very, I'd say he's a rough bloke. I don't love the guy, but the story here is quite compelling. It is helped a lot by the Tim Sale artwork. I mean, just look at how sleek and sort of angular these character designs are. You know, it's a genuinely gripping mystery as well. Like, throughout I was trying to guess where we were going with all this, and I don't do that often for, like, a good mystery story, but this is genuinely quite compelling. You know, you get a good showcase of different eras of Batman. Early on, he's fighting the mob and the Falcons, but then eventually you start bringing in the supervillains. You know, Scarecrow has a pretty great little section. Riddler gets a little bit here too. I love the way Joker is drawn in this book. I love how everyone is drawn, but I love Joker in particular because he's just mostly teeth. I'm trying to find Jonker. How hard is it to find Jonker in this book? Jesus. I know he's not in it a ton, but, like, still. Jonker is pretty good in this book. A lot of the villains are great and really well realized here, you know? Like, yeah, oh god, I love how, I love his massive teeth. I love his weird sort of angular face. This page in particular, one of my favorite illustrations in the entire book. It's so great. You get a great taste of all different parts of the Batman mythos. Solomon Grundy's here for a little bit. You know, and similarly, I think the supporting cast are used pretty effectively. Harvey Harvey Gordon. Harvey Dent, in particular, has a lot of play here, and, I mean, obviously we know where his story goes, but how we get there, I mean, it's a real journey, it's a real showcase, you know. This is cited again. I really, a lot of this is just classic Batman stuff, but I'm ashamed to admit I didn't read this until this year. Sorry to DC fans, I'm a fake fan. But yeah, just the fun, poppy, gothic vibe of this book is just unmatched. You know, Tim Sale's art is fucking incredible. Even just the way he does faces, it's just really compelling to me. The expressions on these three alone, my god. It's great stuff. It's simple, but it's effective, you know? And I adore it. I adore it to bits. It's a really compelling mystery. It is remarkable. It also, I think this version of it opens with Christopher Nolan talking about the fucking book. That's how you know it's legit, I guess. But it's a remarkable read, you know? Go get it. If you haven't, if you like Batman, what are you doing? I mean, this really needs no introduction. Batman the Killing Joke. I read this for the first time when I was 15, changed the chemistry of my brain forever. It's great stuff. I don't know really what to say about this that hasn't been said by hundreds of thousands of other people, far more, you know, analytical than I am. It is the Batman story and the Joker story. You know, you get these wonderful flashbacks showing Joker's possible origin. I love the way that these are kind of sepia tone as well. Really helps to distinguish, you know, the present day segments. It is brutal and it is uncomfortable. You know, Barbara Gordon in this infamously gets shot and sort of violated, and that's very uncomfortable. It's very unpleasant. But there is, you know, a lot of kind of adventure here. You know, the final section where Batman is making his way through the funhouse, and there's so much going on here. But it's all very effective, and Joker here, I think, is characterized at his absolute best. Alan Moore really knew what he was doing here. And of course, you know, the infamous ending, you know, did he strangle him or not? But then this version also has another story at the end about a guy, you know, just kind of losing his mind a bit, trying to kill Batman. That's an equally as compelling story to me. I like that they included this. It is very solid. It's very uncomfortable how kind of real this guy feels. Very eerie. There are definitely people who actually fucking like this guy. Very unsettling premise. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a lot to say on this book just because it is incredible and everyone who has ever read Batman has read this. So I don't really have much to add. I just think it's a remarkable piece of my collection. I love it. It's great. I love the gloss here, the hardcover. Terrific stuff. Killing Joke. Good book. Alright, next we got New 52 Batman by Scott Snyder, Volume 1 and Volume 7. These are the only two volumes I have. Kind of funny that these are the ones, but still. Volume 1 is a terrific start. You get the introduction of the Court of Owls here. Side note, God, I love Greg Capullo's artwork. It is really just fantastic. All his characters have such great expressions and shapes to them. The book, Court of Owls, feels almost like a sprint. There's just so much that happens here. It feels truly relentless. Batman is really just kind of in the shit throughout this entire book, and I really admire that, you know. But eventually, once he makes his way to the, you know, the labyrinth and all that, the book really gets fucking crazy with the formatting as well. You know, you got to flip it on the side and upside down. It's great. The Snyder and Capullo really play around with the format here, and I think it's just beautiful. It's darkly beautiful, I think. This is also, I think, the only time the Court of Owls have ever actually been used effectively in anything, and it was their introduction, so, you know, says a lot. Says a lot. But I also have Endgame here, which is where Joker famously comes back, and he's got his shitty little haircut that I hate. And, you know, you start with Batman fighting a brainwashed Justice League, and then, you know, it all builds to this final climactic face-off with the Joker. I really like how Scott Snyder writes the Joker, too. Like, there is some comedy here, but he's serious in a way that I think works for this take on the character. I don't love his haircut, though. Don't love his haircut. But yeah, Capullo's artwork, it gets so violent, but at the same time so bombastically colorful that I simply adore it. It's great. It's so brutal. Yeah, the final battle is just, they are hacking each other up. It is insane work, but it's just great. I really would love to get the full Snyder Capullo run of New 52 Batman, because I really like these two volumes. I think they are great pieces of work. I will definitely be trying to get the rest of this. For sure, man. For sure. Batgirl Volume 1, Beyond Burnside, and Teen Titans Volume 1, Damien Knows Best. I got these together for a deal back in, like, I don't know, I think I was 16 or 17. Yeah, I don't know. This is a fine Batgirl story, albeit generally unremarkable. I'm not a huge fan of this style at all. The central plot, I'm struggling to even recall it. I've never been huge on this Batgirl suit, by the way. I like the purple, but I don't know. It's just something about it. It feels... I don't know, it feels almost CW-esque. Like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's generally an unremarkable story. I think my favorite Batgirl stuff is usually Gail Simone. This was just kind of a pickup, because it was, yeah, I got them for cheap on a good deal. But, like, it's fine enough, I guess. Hasn't really interested me enough to really remember much of it, which I apologize for that. I don't think I've ever read this, actually. Actually, I don't think I've ever read this. I've had this for years. I don't think I've ever read it. No, yeah, I don't know. Jesus Christ, yeah, I don't know. These two are really kind of flops. And they pair pretty well with another Rebirth book. Maybe I'm just not a fan of DC Rebirth. Suicide Squad The Black Vault sees the squad breaking into a big vault. But then the twist is that it was actually kind of a prison containing General Zod. That's kind of a cool reveal, and I like Zod, you know, here. He's pretty effectively used. He's very powerful, very dangerous. You get a good sense of what he can do to the team. But everything leading up to it and everything after, I don't particularly care for here. Harley Quinn is a character I don't think I like very much these days. They are moving further and further away from the clown thing, which I don't love that. But it's fine. Like, it's what you would expect from a Suicide Squad story. It's fairly unremarkable, it's fine enough, I guess. It's no John Ostrander or whatever, but, you know, it's fine for some. Yeah, I don't know, just based on these three books alone, I don't think I'm a fan of DC Rebirth that much. I'm sure there's good there, you know, I've heard the Batman, the All-Star Batman is pretty good, but yeah, I don't know, I just, these three have not sold me on the Rebirth stuff, but I mean, you know, that initiative I think has since ended, so it doesn't really matter anyway, but, yeah, I don't know, just a series of okay books and one that I have never actually read, which is low-key embarrassing, but fair enough. Joker Endgame is generally I think it's a collection of tie-ins to the Endgame event, so it fleshes that out a bit more. You get the introduction of that, and you get some side stories as well, which I think are pretty fun and alright. There's this great one in here about the Joker tormenting some guy for a random period of time, which I generally enjoy. The art styles change, you know, depending on, you know, what you're reading, which I think is interesting. Some look better than others, but yeah, I don't know. It's really solid. It just adds a lot of flavor to Endgame, which, by the way, it has Endgame in it, so I have Endgame twice. But I don't mind it, because I really like these tie-ins, for the most part. They do some interesting things with them. They play around with Joker as sort of this unknowable force of nature, which... I mean, I don't usually love it when they emphasize Joker to be more than he actually is, but I think Scott Snyder's work here really... It's the only time I think that works for me, just because there's so much mystery around his Joker. And the actual payoff is honestly not that bad. I think it works. I think it works really effectively here. But that's not universal. You know, there are a lot of points that I don't love. But yeah, just this beginning story with the Joker tormenting a random guy is great, just fucking his life up horribly. And there's another one later on where it's about a bunch of Arkham inmates. I think it's solid. You know, it's a solid series of stories that do add flavor to Endgame, but aren't essential reading for Endgame. It's a pretty good book. Titans, The Dark-Winged Queen. This was a Christmas present from a best friend. And it's a pretty solid read. I think this is a follow-up to the Beast World storyline, which I haven't read, but this is fun enough. You get some good dynamics between the Titans. You know, I always love just the Titans hanging out and stuff, which we get a bit of that here and there, but there's also some fun adventure going on, and you get some supernatural antics, which I always enjoy, some fun playing around with Raven's abilities and mythology, which I think is pretty solid. The artwork here is fun, but I think forgettable here. You know, it doesn't quite attract me that much. I do love stylization here, but, you know, you get the Titans together, and, you know, Flash is here as well. That's cool. You know, some Wally action's always good. I don't really have any complaints here, but I don't have any major praises either. It's just a very solid Titans book. I haven't read any actual Titans. I've read a lot of Teen Titans, haven't read Titans, so, you know. But it's Tom Taylor, and he's a local hero, you know, so good stuff, mate. Superman Shadows Linger by Kurt Busiek is a very weak book. You have two stories in here. The first is about, like, Lana Lang being abducted by aliens and becoming a sexy bug queen or something. Very unremarkable stuff. I like the design of the bugs. Don't love that she's just a sexy bug woman. That really kind of ruins it for me. The second story here is about, like, building a giant library in the Phantom Zone or some bullshit. I don't even recall what happened in the second part of the book. You get some time travel going on, I guess, but it's not great. It's not a very good book, I find. It's not a great pairing of stories. Kurt Busiek is a writer I generally quite respect and like, so this was just kind of... I don't know what happened here, but moving on. Superman Earth 1. This is the complete set of Superman Earth 1. These are fine. These are fine enough. Imagine, if you will, Hollywood Superman. I think it's this one. What do you get when you combine Twilight and a classic superhero? And that's really kind of what this is. It's modernizing and reinterpreting a younger Superman in a way that's fine enough, I guess. You know, they go for a more realistic style. I do like the super suit here. I like that he looks like a classic Superman. There's a younger, more reckless Superman, which has been done better in other books, which we will see in a moment. But... you know, it's a very serviceable read. Volume 2, I don't quite remember what happens here specifically. I do like the relationship drama as well. You know, Clark has a couple neighbors in his apartment complex that get a surprising amount of depth to them, and his eventual relationships with Jimmy and Lois and Perry are all on display here very well, and, you know, you get some interesting takes on the villains. Volume 3 in particular, I think Volume 3 is where this really becomes something unique. You get this version of Lex Luthor, or rather, Luthors. There are two of them, a husband and a wife duo, which I think is interesting. It's an interesting take, and you get General Zod here as well. I like this Zod's design, actually, with the big hood, and, you know, he's still got a little fuck-ass goatee. I like it. Honestly, this volume in particular could have worked as, like, a movie, I think. But it's fine enough, you know. I like the Luthors in this volume. Some interesting setup, which I don't think will ever get paid off in particular, because I think Earth 1 ended. But still, it's a fine set of books. As a complete series, it's pretty solid. But if you were only to get Volume 1, I think you'd be missing out on the rest of them, because they are solid enough books. Albeit, I think the idea of a younger, more kind of out of his element Superman has been done better, which we are now going to get to. Birthright is my favorite Superman comic. It's my favorite Superman comic. I got this in a random op shop in the middle of Sydney, Mythic Pool. You get a really just a fantastic young Superman here. He's out of his element here, and he can get frustrated, and he doesn't always know what to do. But I think that's really effective. You spend the first section of the book with him just traveling the world, helping people, you know, doing stuff. He gets into some journalism-related antics, terrorism as well, which I think is interesting. And then eventually you see him get the suit and go to Metropolis and all that. And that's really great. The supporting cast here are updated really effectively. Like, a lot of the classic traits are here. You know, Perry White is loud. Jimmy is kind of a doofus. But it's all really effectively told here. Mark Waid is cooking with this book. There's a reason a lot of people love this, and it's kind of inspiration for the James Gunn movie. If you squint, they do some interesting things with Krypton at the end as well, which I like. There's this great moment here. Yeah, Superman goes after a guy who sold a gun to a little kid, and he shoots the gun at this guy and then catches the bullet, which is a great moment. I love it when Superman can get a little more aggressive sometimes. He is human. He's a very human character, and I think Birthright in particular does a great job at reminding you of that fact. And you get some good flashbacks to a young Clark and Lex. Their relationship here feels genuine. It feels believable. It feels realistic that these two connect in the way that they do, and their inevitable falling out. It tracks. Like, I think this is my favorite version of their relationship. I do generally prefer it when Superman and Lex have some history together in Smallville. Here, it is great. Lex is so petty and vindictive here, which I adore. The artwork is just great as well. There are some expressions I don't love, but for the most part, it is vibrant and colorful in a way that really works, and it elevates the action immensely. And to be honest, the ending segment, I'm not going to show it in its entirety, but the ending segment genuinely does make me emotional. You know, Superman seeing that thing of his parents. It is great. It is great stuff. Peak. Alright, baby, now we got the Jeff Johns double with Shazam Origins. This The New 52 Shazam origin, I think, is interesting here, because it's you know, it's the classic stuff, but Billy Batson's kind of a prick. He's a little prick of a kid here, which I like. It is very clear that this is what the Shazam movie took from the most, obviously Dr. Sivana being the villain as well, and you get a little Black Adam stuff in here as well, which I like. I love the design of New 52 Shazam. I think he looks great. The relationship between Billy and his family, it feels authentic here for the most part. Like, Billy's a rough kid. He's rough around the edges in a way that feels believable and feels authentic, which I like. He's a prick, but it makes sense for him to be a prick. And I wish the movie kind of leaned into that more. But I understand, I guess, making it more palatable for an audience. Black Adam's here. He's got aura. He's just aura farming. There's not a lot going on with him here. It's just nice to see him doing shit, I guess. Nothing remarkable about him. Yeah, I don't know. Jeff Johns, yeah, very hit or miss writing. I don't hate this by any stretch. I think it's pretty solid. You know, Billy gets into semantics and then eventually has to fight a guy who is just as strong as him, which I like. It kind of shatters his illusion of his power, which is pretty good. You know, and you get some shit going on with his family, and then, you know, monsters. It's fun. It's a fun book. Very obvious that this is what the movie was based on, as if you could tell by the movie promo cover. And then we have, you know, Green Lantern, Sinestro, New 52. This is a fun enough story of Sinestro and Hal Jordan having to kind of work together, which is always a fun thing. Their dynamic is really the strongest element of this book. Yeah, it is fine, I guess. It's relying on you having familiarity with the Green Lantern. I wouldn't say this is a good jumping on point, but, you know, it's fun and it's compelling. You get a good sense of their relationship with each other, and Sinestro is really kind of the protagonist here, which works very well. You know, he's given a Green Lantern ring and we have to work together, which is nice. Hal is kind of a scumbag. He's kind of a loser, but, like, in a way that works. Yeah, I I remember seeing this particular trade on episodes of The Big Bang Theory back in the day, which I think might have inspired me to get it, because otherwise, it's fine. It's a fine story. The art is bright at times. I love the way the green looks in this book in particular, but it's an alright story. I don't have any real complaints with it. It's fine. Alright, we are nearly done with this one. I know, not quite as long as the Marvel one, but I just wanted to get this going. Watchmen. Watchmen I'm technically including here because it's got the DC logo on it. I am ashamed to admit, Jesus, penis, already off the bat. I'm ashamed to admit that I had watched the Zack Snyder movie a bunch and loved it, and I still kind of like it, but I hadn't read Watchmen until like a couple years ago. And it is dense. It is a dense book. I don't know how I did it, but I managed to read the whole book in like one afternoon. Took a while, but it was well worth it. I absolutely adore I adore everything about the book. I love its take on 80s America and this sort of alternate timeline. I love how distinctly disgusting our main characters are. They're gross. They are gross characters. You know, Rorschach obviously is a weird feral little guy, but like, even Night Owl is just pathetic. He's a pathetic character. Everyone is really pathetic in the book, which I admire a lot. And the interludes with in-universe texts just really add a unique sense of flavor to it, and it makes this world feel richer. It makes it feel lived in. It makes it feel alive in a way that a lot of other comics don't. And the way things progress, it all feels perfect. I love the paneling here. You know, the 9. You know, the 9x9 or whatever, the 3x9, just remarkable stuff. There's a reason why this is one of the most influential graphic novels of all time. It is truly just, I think, a perfect piece of fiction. Just from beginning to end, it is a ride that has to be read in its completeness. It is so just, God, I struggle to find the words. There are so many things about this that I love. I do think that this probably can't be adapted perfectly to the screen. Like, this is a great example. There's a bit where, you know, Ozymandias is having a meeting with, you know, some of his associates or whatever, and they're all very still, and you don't find out till the end of the sequence that they're all dead. This kind of visual, this gag, can only really work in the comic, because, you know, you look at this isolated and you'd be like, oh yeah, they're listening to him, but No, they're dead. That's great. Ozymandias, I think, is a terrific antagonist for this story. His final monologue, iconic as it is and memed upon as it is meaningful and it is impactful, you know. It is absolutely just gut-wrenching, you know, when Ozymandias says, you know, I did it like 35 minutes ago. That's just great. That's fantastic stuff. My God, it's just the sheer amount of aura from this alone. I love the costume designs as well. I wish the movie didn't go and make them cool. Like Night Owl's little fucking snow jacket. It's very funny to me. And a lot of the more trippy visuals are very effective. Dr. Manhattan's origin, terrific stuff. Dr. Manhattan in general, I think, is just great here. He's this unknowable thing. The book really leans into the fact that he's not human, but at the same time, he's painfully human. He makes a lot of mistakes. He does a lot of regrettable things, but you know, at the same time, he is this omnipotent Superman, but he is not inhuman completely. He's just sort of, one could argue, kind of neuralized a little, or sterilized, which I find fascinating. But just the panel structure, the artwork, everything about this book is incredible, you know, and it can't be replicated. There is nothing else like this that does it to this level of success. It's a fantastic read, beginning to end, cover to cover, you know. You really just find a way to read this. Take the time to read this. Take your time. Go through the interludes as well. It's fantastic. There is nothing like this, and for good reason. I think it is just truly beautiful. Hate that little sticker. But yeah, just a terrific book, a fantastic book. Go read it. Last but not least, we're ending on peak this time with Absolute Martian Manhunter Volume 1. This was a Christmas gift. A very good Christmas gift. What Denise Camp is doing here and what Javier Rodriguez is doing is incredible. This is unlike anything I've ever read. You know, the way it plays around with the format and the style, just the abstract storytelling at play here, the visuals, my God, insane. Javier Rodriguez is just remarkable with it. I cannot imagine a human being coming up with this. It is so fresh and unique. This is really, I think, a great representation of what the Absolute Universe is supposed to be. Just taking a character that we're familiar with and subverting it and making it interesting and playing it from a different angle. The emotions, the unsaid words, the complexities of this world and these people, it's just displayed really effectively here. I think what this duo are doing is remarkable. This is going to be a modern day classic. I'm excited for Volume 2. I haven't read the rest of the series. I want to wait and just get the second volume of this. It is so rich and beautiful and packed full of emotion and empathy. You know, it's interesting as the series goes on, it takes getting an alien in his brain for John Jones to actually start feeling and being more human. His relationship to his wife is so compelling and rich. You do believe why they got together, and the tension there is undeniable, and it is believable in a way that I think not a lot of comic relationships can be. The artwork here is just so fucking stellar. I need you to read this. I really do. I need everyone who's watching this video to find a way to read this book. It is incredible. I'm picking it up. That's how remarkable it is. It's so fucking good. Denise and Javier just do a great job with this. This really got me back into reading modern books. It's so good, and it's so beautifully effective at everything it does. My God, it's art. It is art. I think it's going to go down as a classic, to be honest with you. It's really great. That was the DC collection. Notably not as big as the Marvel stuff. Also, I don't think this video will be as long, but yeah, that's my collection, part 1 and part 2. Are you more of a Marvel person? Are you more of a DC person? You both? You neither? Let me know about it. I'd be curious to know what everyone's thoughts are. I didn't want to go too in depth on some of the books because I may review some of them one day. You know, kind of a break in format. I've never really done that for a book before or a comic. But yeah, if you watched both the videos, you're a trooper, and I love you dearly. Good stuff. I'm getting parasocial with it. Come here, let me grab you. Let me pull you into my arms. Let's have a digital hug. That'd be stupid. That's not funny. But yeah, stick around. Subscribe if you haven't. I will see you next time.